There's no question that wonder is an important part of Christmas. The story, our experience of opening gifts and being together as families and beloved friends. Well, I'd like you to have an opportunity this morning to hear a message from the Bishop of the Greater New Jersey and Pennsylvania Conference. He provides a message centered around this idea of wonder. Take a listen.
Merry Christmas. Thank you so much for joining. I just want to wish you and your family a Merry Christmas season, and hope all the blessings of this season just fill your household, fill your friends, fill your neighbors with the great joy of Jesus Christ. And thank you for joining me today. I want to talk a little bit about Christmas and the wonder of Christmas. And when I was growing up, Christmas for me and my family was wondrous. It was just a joy-filled time, was happy, and there was always plenty of wonder to go around. I remember growing up, me and my brothers really took very literally the words, Santa's going to visit, but if you're naughty or nice. And so we always, in the last week before Christmas, became the kindest kids in the whole neighborhood. I mean, we would do everything to help other people out. Mom was taking the trash out. Mom, I'll take that. Oh, I'll do the dishes tonight. And so we just were very kind in the expectation that we would get wonderful gifts that Christmas. Now, growing up in the Schol family, back in the 1960s, I can't believe it was that long ago, we would get the Sears catalog. Now, some of you may not be familiar with the Sears catalog. So much is done online today. But there used to be this thick book that would come from Sears, and it would come in November, and it would have all of the things that anybody would ever want for Christmas, and particularly the toy section. I mean, there were pages upon pages of toys in the Christmas catalog. And so me and my brothers, we would go through that catalog, we'd tear off pieces of newspaper, and we would put it into certain pages where there would be a gift that we would want for Christmas. And just in case there was any doubt, we would take a pen and circle the gift that we would want to make sure that everybody knew exactly what we wanted for Christmas. Well, in the Schol family, growing up, my father was a carpet weaver, and there was not a lot of money to go around. And so we were lucky if we got one or two gifts that we might have circled in this Sears catalog. But Christmas morning was always so exciting. There would be gifts under the Christmas tree. There would be a tree that would be lit. There would be a platform with a train on it that would go around. Everybody would have a stocking. It was wondrous. And we'd all open our gifts, and it would just be a joyous time. Never forget, Dad always got his gifts. They were in his stocking. He would always get several Hershey bars and a carton of Lucky Strikes cigarettes. Now, it's amazing my father lived as long as he did, but with the diet he kept and the cigarettes that he smoked. But that was his Christmas gift every Christmas growing up. As we got a little older, it was interesting that we found out along the way that for some reason Santa actually visited our house early, and presents would be hidden throughout the house. Now, we weren't supposed to go and find those presents. They were to wind up under the Christmas tree on Christmas morning. But once we began to learn that Santa was actually bringing the gifts early, my brothers and I would be curious about what we were going to get that Christmas. And so when Mom and Dad were out of the house, we would go from room to room, checking under beds, checking in closets, be in the back of the closet. We'd go down into the basement, look around in the basement. We'd go down into the garage. We'd look everywhere to see what gifts we might be getting. And we would discover these gifts. And then I think my parents must have realized that we were actually doing that, so they would wrap the gifts before they hid them. And we became very good at unwrapping gifts and rewrapping them so they never looked disturbed. And so on Christmas morning, the wonder was the surprise on our face when we saw the gifts, because we already knew what gifts we were getting. And so the real wonder of Christmas morning was how we could look so surprised knowing the gifts we were already going to be getting. So Christmas in the Schol family was really amazing and a great time. But one of the things I learned over time was that I actually more enjoyed not knowing what I was going to get on Christmas morning, the mystery of it, and then being able to discover for the first time the gifts that I would be receiving. There was just something about mystery and the ability to learn and to be surprised and at the wondrous morning it was. And so today I want to talk with you about wonder. And I want to talk with you about three things of wonder: kindness, curiosity, and mystery. Now, first, let's take a look at this biblical passage. Man, it's a mysterious passage. I mean, here the shepherds are. They're out there in the middle of the night. All of a sudden, there's this announcement that there's this birth. They see the star and these angels. And it's a wonder. I mean, it's a miracle. It's miraculous. It's a surprise to them. And there's this great wonder. But this isn't the first wonder that happens in the story. As a matter of fact, if you read back further and earlier in the story, you'll find that Zechariah, the father of John the Baptist, was muted. He couldn't talk because he wanted to name his son after him. His firstborn son, it was going to be named after me. And God had other plans that this firstborn son was going to be named John. Now, I don't know why Zechariah didn't like John. I mean, I think it's a great name to be named. But, he didn't for some reason. But John actually means child of God. And so when Zechariah finally committed and said, yes, the child's name would be John, then he got his voice back. Great celebration, birth of John the Baptist. So that was the first kind of wondrous story. Then the second is Mary and John the Baptist's mother were walking and getting ready to meet each other, and John the Baptist leapt in the womb, coming into the presence of Mary as she is pregnant with Jesus. And so this is the second wonder that we already hear about this story of the birth of Jesus. So already a wonder is occurring. Now, wonder, one of the things I like about, particularly in the English language, is this wonder, this word wonder, really captures these two meanings. One is, like it's meant in the Bible, a miracle. Something fabulous is happening. Something of God is happening. As a matter of fact, in the Gospel of John, John talks about miracles as signs, God's presence, God's wonder in our midst. And so wonder means a miracle, the act of God happening in our midst, the sign of God. God is doing something right here. The other thing I love about it is this whole sense of curiosity, wondering, what could be happening. And certainly in the biblical story, both of them are happening in the birth of Jesus. There is this sense of God doing a miraculous thing. And there is also this sense of, what does this child mean for the world? What does this child mean for my life? So I really love that. Now, as I said, I want to talk about three parts of wonder. I want to talk about kindness, I want to talk about curiosity, and I want to talk about mystery. First is kindness. In 2017, there was a movie. It was called Wonder. And maybe you've seen it, but it's a story about this young boy who's homeschooled. And the primary reason that he's homeschooled is because he has deformity of his face. And he really doesn't like to be seen in public. As a matter of fact, whenever he goes out in public, he wears a space helmet so that people really can't see his face. And so his mother decides when he turns 8 that it's time for him to go to school, that he really has to face into being with other children, not wearing his helmet. And so this great, powerful movie that is called Wonder, and if you get a chance, I invite you to see it. But in there, there's this great line, and it says, "Choose kindness over being right." Wow, listen to that again. Choose kindness over being right. You see, sometimes kids like to find faults in others, and they certainly were right. His face was deformed, and they could actually be pretty cruel to this young kid. And it's a great story. I don't want to spoil the story for you, but that line of choosing kindness over being right. Have you ever been in a conversation and you just want to make sure that everybody knows you are right? Or have you ever been in a conversation where somebody keeps making the point that they are right? And it really never comes off well because it's more about them than the conversation or engaging with people. And so this whole sense of being kind over being right is so critical and important, and particularly in the Christmas story, because that's what God was really all about. God was sending Jesus into the world because God loved the world. It wasn't so much that God was trying to say, you got to do the right thing. God was saying, I love you. It was really the kindness of God that was coming out for the whole world in that first Christmas story. So kindness is really very important. And you know, one of the things I find in life is that people often feel they need permission to be kind. They're waiting for an opening to be kind rather than embodying kindness. Everywhere you go, every place you are just kind. You care about people. You're thoughtful about people. You think, what does the person need before you think about what do I need in this situation? You know, I was reading the other day about Portugal and their culture. They have a culture of kindness, and people in Portugal are just kind. It's part of their values. It's part of who they are. And it was just really an American couple who went and lived in Portugal who was telling the story about just how they find people in Portugal to be kind. And it's part of their values. It's part of their culture. It's just who they are. What does it look like for us? Or what does it look like for the congregation to just have a value, a culture of kindness, caring about others before we care about ourselves? I heard a district superintendent recently describing going to a church, and they went in, and there in the entryway of the church were some church people talking to each other. Never greeted the superintendent. The superintendent had to get her own bulletin, find her own seat. Nobody came and talked to her. You know, that's a congregation that exemplifies a lot of our congregations, actually. We're all thinking about what do I need or who do I want to engage with, rather than who's the visitor here, who needs to be welcomed, or who needs to hear from me? How can I be kind to somebody on this morning? So one of the things that really bring wonder into Christmas and what God brought was just a deep sense of kindness. Now the second is curiosity. And I heard this phrase recently, and I've really been thinking about it, meditating on it, and even talking about it. And this is choose curiosity over judgment. Wow, think about that. What does it mean to become more curious rather than judging people? Again, I don't know what you find in life, but I often find that people make judgments before they fully understand, before they really take time to learn and to listen to learn. And so, here in the Christmas story, this is really all about a very curious story. And you hear people asking questions all along. Mary's asking, why me? Who am I? The shepherds are wondering, why are you visiting us? What is our part in this story? There's all of these great, curious questions. What does it mean, rather than judging people, to learn more about people, to really try and understand who they are, what their story's been, where they've traveled, what has happened in their life that has helped to shape who they are? What does it mean that we actually start becoming more curious rather than making a decision already about a person or a situation? I invite you this Christmas season into practicing curiosity, just learning more about people before you try and have other people learn about you. What does it mean to listen, to learn, to be outward toward people and really try and understand who they are? And then the third area is mystery. As I said, mystery was so much more enjoyable on Christmas morning when I didn't know what I was getting, and it was a big surprise. Mystery. Mystery has great power to it. We live in an advanced time in society, certainly from the biblical understandings and what they understood. And there's science. We know so much more, and we know so much more about sociology and psychology, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think that's really important, that we continue to make advances in science and psychology and sociology and understanding our world, understanding people. But leave room for mystery. Don't think that you've got to have it all figured out. Or just because you don't have something figured out, you've got to make some rational reason for why it happens. Wonders happen when we're open to mystery. When we know it all, it's very hard to have any wonder. We already know. But mystery allows for God to do things that we never saw coming. There's a preaching professor. His name was Fred Craddock, and he was a great storyteller. But he tells this story about his family. And every Sunday afternoon, they would go for a walk. And on this walk, this adventure, they would look for wondrous things out of the ordinary, things that they hadn't seen before, and be astonished by these different things that they have seen. Maybe it was something in nature. Maybe it was a bird. Maybe it was kids playing in the fountain. Whatever it was, it was a wonder to them. It was astonishing for them on that particular day. What does it look like to go through your life with just that kind of adventure? Let's keep our eyes open for something astonishing. Let's keep our eyes open for something wondrous. Let's be surprised by what God has for us. And, this happened to me one time. I'm a runner. And, I like to run, but I had some pain in my knees, so I had to give it rest. And so all I could do was walk. And the things I saw when I walked that I never noticed when I ran. It was miraculous. It was amazing. And I saw all kinds of things in nature. I saw things in people. I saw things in the surroundings, the environment that I never saw while I was running, because I was focused on what was right in front of me and I was moving at a faster pace. But when I slowed down and looked more around me, It was amazing. It was so amazing that I started to carry my phone with me because I wanted to take pictures of these things that I saw as I would go on this walk. What does it look like for in our lives to leave some openness to mystery? Wonder that's built around kindness, that helps God's presence to grow up in the world. Wonder that's built around curiosity rather than judgment, and looking and asking good questions. And being open to mystery, the surprise, the wonder that God has waiting for us. Well, in this story about this young boy with this deformed face, one point in the story, one of the kids says, why don't you get plastic surgery? And the kid says, what do you think? I've already had 20 plastic surgeries. This is why I look so good today. And then his mother says to him at one time when he's really hurt, she said to him, you know, God made you to stand out. Wow. God wanted you to stand out. You could have been just anybody, but you stand out. You know, God has made all of us to stand out. That's really what the story of Christmas is all about. That God sent Jesus Christ into the world, that we would all recognize that in God's eyes, we are somebody special. We may look different. We may have different experiences. We may not think of ourselves as somebody who stands out. But God has put us into this world to stand out. And if you really want to stand out, well, choose kindness over being right. Choose curiosity over judgment. And choose mystery over knowing everything. Let me tell you, you will stand out with those choices. May God bless you in this Christmas season, and may God continue to enrich your life as you continue to live the birth of Christ into the world. Amen.
So on this beautiful Christmas day, I hope that you will just take a few minutes to pause and reflect on the wonder of Christmas, to pause and reflect on the magnitude of God's mercy and God's grace. Merry Christmas.